Hello and welcome to episode 167 of the How to Survive podcast. This week's film is Mandy by Panos Cosmatos. My name is Chris Morris and joining me is Joe Sherville. The psychotic drowns where the mystic swims. And Joe is swimming.
Because I'm a mystic?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I thought you were insulting me, but you're not.
No.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a quote from the end of Mandy.
Yes. Spoilers.
Yeah, although... Yeah. Mandy is a film starring Nicolas Cage and Andrea Riseborough, and it is available, I think internationally it's available on streaming services. In the UK it's got a sort of stilted cinema release.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth checking out in the cinema if you can, because it is a very visually striking film, to say the least.
Imagine if you smoked crack through a lava lamp. That is the film.
Yep. And that's all we have to say. No, of course not. This is How to Survive. We talk about horror movies and how we would survive in them. But first, we need to recap the film. And so to do that, we tend to spoil the whole film. This is a very new film, Joe, as you well know. And so our audience should be well advised to only listen to this podcast once they've seen the film, or to listen to it if you have no plans to see this film and you just like the company.
Or if you are going to see it, but want to see it knowing exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, which I think some people do.
That's strange.
Which is strange, but not quite as strange as Mandy.
No,
This week's film.
Strange film.
Last warning on the spoiler front, and we'll recap Mandy after this.
Primordial sky, the wretched warlock reached into the dark embrace. His fist closed around the serpent's eye. Strange and eternal.
I need you to get me that girl I saw. You know what to do. You're a special one, Mandy. I, too, am a special one. Let us be so very special together.
Lumberjack Red lives in a cabin by Crystal Lake, no relation,
Yeah.
with his partner Mandy, who is a fantasy artwork illustrator. Both appear to have suffered trauma in their lives, but have found a kind of peace with one another. As Mandy walks through the woods, a van passes containing members of the deviant hippie cult Children of the New Dawn, including their enigmatic, messianic leader, Jeremiah Sand.
Yeah.
Jeremiah immediately becomes infatuated with Mandy and orders his disciple, Brother Swan, to kidnap her, summoning the demonic biker gang, the Black Skulls, to aid him. And he summons them using the Horn of Abraxas, which is a ocarina, which he blows in the woods, and some demonic biker characters appear.
Yeah, it's still fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That is fine. The cult, along with the Black Skulls, break into the couple's cabin, tying Red up and drugging Mandy with a potent form of LSD. Jeremiah plays a record from his failed music career and attempts to coerce Mandy into performing sex acts on him, but she laughs in his face instead. Humiliated, Jeremiah burns Mandy alive as Red watches on helplessly. Once the cult is departed, Red breaks free of his restraints and swears revenge on the cult. He retrieves a hunting crossbow from his friend Carruthers, who informs him that the Black Skulls were drug runners driven insane by a bad batch of LSD, rendering them sadomasochistic murderers.
Yeah, I think he says those guys are in a lot of pain, and the worst part is they fucking love it.
Yeah. Yeah. it's fair to say the film has a sort of gear shift.
Yes.
As evidenced by this next line, Carruthers warns him that chasing them down is a suicide mission, and Red responds by smelting a gigantic axe.
Yeah.
That's a skill that he has, apparently. Does it wearing sunglasses as well?
Yeah.
Why not? Just get on board. Red is able to run one biker down in his car after shooting him with the crossbow, but crashes his car in the process. He once again wakes up restrained, but is able to break free and kill the remaining bikers. He takes some of the Black Skull's LSD, suffers severe and instant hallucinations, snorts a mountain of cocaine from a shard of broken glass, and sets out after the Children of the New Dawn.
Yeah.
He finds the cult's church in a quarry, kills 2 of their number with his axe before besting the 3rd in a chainsaw duel.
That's fine.
Killing the remaining members of the cult, he finds Jeremiah in the bowels of the church. Jeremiah tells Red of his immense God-given powers and warns against attacking him, and Red responds by crushing Jeremiah's skull with his bare hands and burning his church to the ground.
Yeah. It's quite a nice shot when he leaves, and it's they must have built that church to burn it down.
Yeah, it's like super slow motion.
Yeah.
Looks like 16mm or 35mm. Looks really 80s.
It does.
Yeah. I also like that Jeremiah is basically just a showman.
Yeah.
And has no power.
Yeah.
Outside, Red takes a car and drives away from the quarry, hallucinating Mandy next to him in the car. As he drives, the landscape around him appears fantastical and otherworldly, taking on the appearance of one of Mandy's artworks.
Yeah. If
And
you
that
watch
is the end of Mandy.
past the credits, you see a couple of seconds of the thing she was drawing at the beginning of the film,
Right.
which is just a picture of Nicolas Cage.
Ah.
Or Red.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't say Nicolas Cage at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, the film is best summed up by the following quote, which is from the film.
Okay.
It didn't make any sense. They were bikers and crazy psychos.
Yeah. And is that the bit where he just says, and just...
They burned her alive.
They burned her alive. Just pure evil.
Yeah. That's the part.
Yeah. Mandy.
This
by
is
Panos Cosmatos.
this is the most weirded out, I think, I've been by a film since we covered The Survivalist, maybe.
Okay,
And
right.
I think it's going to
That's
have
a long time ago.
a similar sort of level of exposure. I think
Right.
it's quite a niche film as well.
Yes, yeah.
The Survivalist had jizz as fertilizer.
Piss as fertilizer.
Both, I think,
Both, sorry, yeah.
mixed together.
My mistake.
This has a chainsaw duel.
Yeah,
I don't know what's more insane.
yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Most interesting film we've covered since Hereditary, I think.
Right, okay.
It feels
Very different films.
It feels like an A24 movie because it's that's rock and roll, alternative. It's deliberately being an alternative film, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That kind of style. Because you feel like you've never seen anything like it. Right?
Yeah, and I don't think I have ever seen anything like this film.
Yeah, but that said, I think if you take away the photography, which I'm not suggesting I want to take away the photography because it's some of the best I've ever seen. Cinematographically, it's incredible. It's a masterpiece, but it disguises what is actually quite a tropey movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like it's shot by someone who's never seen how a revenge movie should be shot, and it's just just load of red in there.
Yeah, it's like a heavy metal album cover brought to life.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. It's a film that, like you said, that takes a sort of very standard revenge narrative, but it's imbued with this unbelievable visual style.
Yeah.
And confidence in the vision as well.
Yeah.
That Panos Cosmatos must have. I just thought it was completely captivating.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage is fantastic.
He's crazy.
And it's
some of the best moments in the film are him in, I guess, 1 to 2 seconds just delivering emotion. He's a stoic character for most of the film.
Yeah.
But occasionally you get a glimpse into what's going on in his head. And when that bursts through, it's some of the best acting you've ever seen.
Yeah, there's a scene in particular in a bathroom which is, it's sort of like, I mean, I was.
It's maybe the only scene in the film which is lit with natural, like with normal light.
It's like you're watching Nicolas Cage on a stage in front of you, and I was sort of lost for words because of how, like, it's unlike anything I've ever seen in terms of cinematic acting before. And I now understand why the likes of Ethan Hawke cite Nicolas Cage as this incredible actor who is the only actor doing something unique with the craft, in the modern time. And Nicolas Cage is unfortunately sort of saddled with, I mean, basically...
He's a meme, isn't he?
He's a meme as a result of films like Vampire's Kiss and...
Knowing
and the Wicker Man remake, right? But for all the reasons that his performance is too outlandish for a film like The Wicker Man, it's perfect for this sort of film.
Yeah.
Because he's doing that sort of hyper-exaggerated, insane performance, but it totally works within this film because it's almost like the film is built around his performance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if you think about the first half of the film, he's really stoic and quiet, like you said, as is the film for the most part. And then in the second half, it goes off the rails completely.
Yeah.
About the same time Nicolas Cage does, when he starts downing vodka in the bathroom and just screaming, because it's screaming in anguish about what's happened to him.
Yeah, physical and emotional, because he's been stabbed.
Yeah,
and he's pouring vodka on his wounds and stuff.
Yeah, but it's utterly captivating. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I think I laughed out. Like, I watched it alone. I think you did as well.
Yeah,
it's not safe for wife. Is a phrase I use, and by that I mean my wife.
Yeah, exactly.
She would not have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But the last shot is him kind of having like a daydream or a hallucination of when he met Mandy.
Right.
And they're driving together, and it's like a reverse shot of them in the car on the way home from the club. In the daydream, and then you see him like smiling, and then it shuts back to her, and she's like smoking a cigarette, and it goes back to him as he is now.
Yeah.
And he's just like covered in blood, just like grinning like he's
like a maniac.
Yeah, like a maniac.
Yeah.
And like
yeah.
And then that's it.
But
that's
it's such a jarring shot because of how mad Nicolas Cage looks.
Yeah.
That I found it quite like unsettling. Like, it's quite an unsettling shot to end on.
Yeah.
A nice little thing in that sequence is that his flashback to when he met Mandy, he's wearing the t-shirt that earlier in the film he says that it gets torn, and he goes, "That's my favorite t-shirt," and it's his favorite because it was the one that he's wearing when he met Mandy, which is a really sweet and sad little thing. And I think the part of the reason the film works so well is that I thought the opening scenes of Red and Mandy in the cabin, and they're lit
by like Aurora Borealis. Right?
Yeah, it's like they're
northern lights are the natural light on the
They're in the most perfect like idyll that you can imagine, and it's genuinely tender and sweet, their interactions, and in a sort of in a very subtle way, it does a really great job of implicitly telling you how much they mean to one another. I think, it just seems like Mandy coming out of the lake. And Red is like building a fire, and there's just a reverse shot of them looking at one another.
Yeah.
And it's just the film, for a film that has a chainsaw fight.
Yeah. It also understands, like,
there's a good half an hour at the start
of emotion, right?
Yeah, yeah. It gives those moments room to breathe.
I think the opening, I'd say 20 minutes, half an hour, reminded me a bit of It Comes at Night.
Right.
Because you don't really know what's a dream and what's real. So there's a scene, there's a weird shot that never comes up again where she just walks into the woods and finds like a dead deer.
Yeah.
Just never mentioned again.
Yeah. And it seems to be a dream, doesn't it? But then you're not certain.
Not sure, yeah.
The film just gets progressively stranger and stranger and more out there.
I think the turning point has got to be when she's on LSD and Jeremiah is like, he comes up to her and he's like in her face delivering this monologue about how he's chosen by God and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's just speaking nonsense about like cult leader sort of stuff.
Well, he's a Charles Manson cipher.
Yeah, exactly.
Right down to the fact that Charles Manson also had a failed music career.
Yeah, that's quite right.
And I think was reported as being incredibly frustrated and angry whenever people didn't take his music seriously.
Yeah. Yes, that does sound about right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in that case, he is an exact cipher.
Yeah.
But his face seems to morph into hers while he's talking.
Yeah.
And back again.
Yeah.
But because of the way they've shot it on a kind of like a trailing motion blur.
Yeah.
I mean, you can probably explain that better than I can.
Well, it's like a yeah. I mean, it's almost like every bit of movement is sort of smearing across the screen.
Yeah,
and it's similar to something called stretch printing.
Okay,
where you film something, I think with like stretched rolls of film, and then when it's back, like all the. Or maybe stretch it afterwards. I can't really remember how you do it. But you get that similar sort of really disorientating look. But this is, I think, something that they've done in post to represent the sort of foggy-headed feeling of someone who's under hallucinogenics.
You're right. It looks like I haven't done acid, but I watched this and thought this is probably what acid is somewhat like.
Yeah, you can imagine that this will become a cult film for people who like to take hallucinogenics and watch films.
Yes. Although maybe not this one.
Well, maybe not. It'd be an intense experience.
Yes. So we mentioned earlier, I mean, I don't want it to sound too much like a complete beatification of the film. It is amazing, but it does rely on its tropes, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And they are the tropes of a violent revenge film.
Yes.
The likes of Oldboy, John Wick, things like that. You've got your girl in the fridge.
Yeah.
The retired weapons expert who's brought in to help.
Yeah.
Who also happens to be the magical Negro.
Yeah, that's true.
But unlike most violent revenge stories, you've also got a chainsaw sword fight and more use of the colour red than would be considered necessary in, I think, any film.
Yeah. Another visual trope that I really like is whenever there's an object shown in close-up, and there's just like a green strobe light for no reason. Doesn't exist within the actual like world of the film. It's just whenever there's a cutaway to an object like the Horn of Abraxas, there's just like this blinding green strobe light out of nowhere. It's just so ridiculous.
It's mad.
Yeah.
Good though.
Do you think the fact that it's got such a unique visual style sort of counteracts the fact that it's quite a formulaic plot?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent it makes it more watchable. If this was just shot normally through normal cameras with normal lighting, it wouldn't be anywhere near as compelling.
No. I think definitely in this instance it works because the film feels like it's so completely constructed around that look.
Yeah, like form follows function, right?
Yeah,
function follows form. One of them.
Yeah, well, it feels like an experiential film.
Yeah,
it's a bit like what you were saying about it being
like you're on LSD.
Yeah, and I think all the visual references and tropes and things like that feel really well thought out. And it's not just that it's a film that looks good; it's a film that the director has had a certain vision that he's then crafted.
It's interesting the character's name is Red, as well as every frame in the thing being a block of red.
Yeah, well, it all looks, I mean, lots of it looks like those sort of fantasy artworks that we see Mandy painting. It doesn't look like, a modern horror movie, but it doesn't look like an 80s film exactly either, does it?
No, there's moments, but not really, because it's not like there was a huge run in the 80s of people shooting through a red lens for an entire film.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of films it does remind you of. One, I don't know if you agree with this, but the heavy use of red and the fact that Andrea Riseborough is like, she could be Tilda Swinton's daughter. I think that kind of vulnerable, androgynous kind of look with the red made me think a lot about Lynn Ramsey's film, We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Yeah.
Only in cinematic style, of course. There's not much content that crosses over.
Quite different films.
Yeah. But it has the same effect and it's just massively unsettling.
Yeah.
And I think that film, We Need to Talk About Kevin, draws from Don't Look Now, which we covered a few weeks back.
Yeah.
In its use of red, and subtle uses of red are frequent throughout Hollywood, but this is not a subtle use of red.
No, it's constant. I think there's lots of 80s references, as you said. The black skulls are clearly references to Hellraiser Cenobites, I think.
No doubt.
Especially the one that's got nails all over his body, because that's just Pinhead, isn't it, obviously?
They all look like they're suffering badly, and they have like ooze coming off them and nails in their heads, and they are the Cenobites on bikes, basically.
Yeah. Cenobikers.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we said before, there's a Crystal Lake reference.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little nod to us.
Yeah, exactly. Children in the Corner. I got a little bit with there's no children, but the cult. The cult, exactly. Yeah.
Carruthers being played by Bill Duke.
Yeah.
Feels like a nod to Predator. It feels like the same character almost.
Well,
but
I thought differently with Carruthers. If you remember, the janitor in The Shining was played by Scatman Carruthers.
Right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Interesting note. Yeah.
Both similar looking, bug-eyed men.
Yeah. The film that Red and Mandy are watching is called Night Beast, by the way, which is a 1982 monster movie. Looks fairly schlocky.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. And obviously there's a lot of other meta-textual references to things like heavy metal. Mandy wears a metal band t-shirt, and the film opens with a sort of slightly weird, like, metal quote. It's like about being buried with your headphones on and all this sort of thing, which is a bit lame.
Yes.
It's odd.
It would be good if the rest of the movie had a really heavy metal aesthetic, but it kind of doesn't, The music's not.
The music's not a big part of it.
No. I got a couple of references to see if you agree with these. Man with a Golden Gun.
Okay.
There's that guy with the tiger. There's like one potted scene.
Right. The guy says, they've wronged you.
Yeah. He's got a golden gun.
Right.
That's that.
Yeah.
And then you've got the part where he's like, do you like music? Do you like the Carpenters? That reminded me of American Psycho.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure these are all things that Panos has seen and drawn influence from.
Yeah.
There's also, fantasy novels. There's a close-up of a page at one point of the book Mandy's reading, which references two suns or two, like, planets above us, above the sky, which I think is supposed to inform the final shot where you see two sort of celestial bodies in the sky.
Yeah. I like that stuff, but then I would prefer it if it was a bit more like substantive at the end, because it's all a bit meaningless, isn't it?
But don't you think it's
all showy, but not.
But perhaps it's that Mandy's influence that sort of like looms over the rest of the film, because there's sort of intertitles, and so at the start there's Shadow Mountains, then there's Children of the New Dawn, and then the third and I think final intertitle is just Mandy. And that comes pretty much, I think, at the juncture between the the first act and the first half and the second half of the film, because it is very much
it's when he goes on a rampage.
Yeah. So it's almost like you're in Mandy, even though Mandy's dead, she's informing the rest of the film. And I don't think it's any coincidence that it gets more and more fantastical as it goes on.
I think so.
Do you think it gets less scary as it gets weirder?
Yes and no. It's harder to see what's happening.
Okay.
That doesn't make it less scary.
I feel like it
gets funnier. It gets more like the same way you'd watch Crank and be like, ha ha, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It gets a lot like that. Or like Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Yeah.
Where it's just like sudden and vicious violence, but on like a ridiculous level.
But it becomes like a sort of fantasy violence as the film progresses, doesn't it?
Well, like the chainsaw fight.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's Nicolas Cage with a giant silver axe fighting a man biker demon.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, I think, people are calling it a horror movie, and it is sort of a horror movie, but I think by the time it gets to that point in the film, it's almost like the film's not really playing by normal rules. There doesn't seem to be like as much of a threat. It's almost like the worst possible thing has already happened
in Mandy
being burned alive. I think that all the silliness is undercut by how horrible what happens to Mandy is.
Yeah.
But then how horrible Mandy's death is undercut by all the silliness.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like a really strange clash of tones with it, but in a way that it's almost like the film just like doesn't care at all.
It's
just plows on regardless.
I guess you're meant to be confused, aren't you? You're meant to not know how to feel, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain beauty to most of it, but like you'll see like a beautiful shot of Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
In one minute you're like, oh, that's amazing, and then you'll see like someone's head getting popped, and you'll be like, that's minging.
Yeah. Well, talking about heads being popped, Joe.
Yeah.
Something to avoid if you value your life. So, how would you survive in Mandy?
Well, I think to start with, let's rule some things out.
Okay.
So if you're going up against Red, he's the main. He hands out most of the punishment, I think.
Yeah.
We know the following will not work: brute force, because he's somehow able to outfight most people. Binding him, you can't tie him up because he'll wriggle out of most things.
Yeah, eventually, after hours and hours.
Still, he gets out. Every time we see him get tied up, he gets out of it.
That's true, yeah.
You can't stab him. For some reason, that didn't work.
Well, you could
running on pure.
Stab him repeatedly.
But you didn't see that happen.
No, I know, but okay. I presume you're working up to something here.
Well, no, just the final one is don't appeal to him on a sexual level.
Right.
That won't work either. You can't offer him like sex because he'll just cut your head off. That's so. Don't do that, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the tying up thing sort of links into my main point, which is that the cult should just kill Red, shouldn't they?
Yes.
Because
there's no need to keep him alive.
Yeah, and he's immobilized. They've had their fun in terms of burning Mandy alive.
Yeah. In
front of him and seeing his anguish.
Yeah. So why keep him alive? It's classic revenge movie mistake, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in Kill Bill, at least Bill thinks he's killed her when he shoots her in the head.
Yeah.
In John Wick, they just don't know who he is. They think he's some guy.
Yeah.
In this, I guess it's the same thing. They just think he's some guy.
Well, he is just some guy, aside from the fact that he just takes a load of hallucinogenics and goes mad, basically. It's like, I don't think you're supposed to think that he has some sort of dark past where he learned to do all these things.
He just got mad.
Because all of that stuff happens after the bathroom scene where he is, visibly going mad.
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to take all of that as a sort of...
This is his madness.
Yeah, I think so. Like, if not a hallucination, then he's just become this avenging angel by virtue of the fact that he's just fearless and mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically it. So what's the survival tip?
Kill Red.
Yeah. Stop him becoming the avenging angel.
If you've got him immobilized, you've stabbed him, he can't react, you might as well just kill him because...
Yeah, he's no good to you.
Yeah. And also you don't have any real powers.
Yeah. So did you think he was going to reveal that he had powers after all?
No, I always thought... Well, I didn't know whether or not they'd sort of reveal him to be so openly a charlatan. But I did think he would be a charlatan, yeah.
My next tip is for Red, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he had to have it explained to him who the Black Skulls were.
Yeah.
And what were they described as?
A drug runner biker gang who were given some laced LSD, basically.
Yeah, potent LSD.
Yeah.
Now, if he'd known that, he might have been able to do something about it in the moment, do you think?
Meaning what?
Well, he didn't know what he was up against. He thought he could, he said psychos and freaks and stuff, biker gang. If he'd known these guys are on LSD, perhaps he could have played that to his advantage.
Right.
So I've looked online.
Yeah.
Little website. We haven't heard from it for a little while. WikiHow.
Yeah.
So these are the top tips for spotting LSD use.
Okay.
So step 1. Determine if someone may be having hallucinations.
Right. It's hard to know with the bikers because they keep themselves almost entirely covered.
Yeah, well, this is the things to look for. If the user has grandiose thoughts, such as thinking they can fly, or if they have suicidal or homicidal delusions or hallucinations, seek emergency help immediately.
Is it fair to say that Red has homicidal delusions?
I think he does, yeah.
Would you call them delusions?
No, they're real. Watch the person to see if he or she seems to be interacting with things that are not there.
Right.
The Red is by the end.
Yeah, that is true. I do love when he takes a tiniest dab of the LSD, basically touches his finger on it, and does he lick his finger or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And it instantly has a basically shot of his whole head melting.
Yeah.
And, like the stars coming out and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Step 2. Listen for signs that the person is having blended sensory experiences.
Okay.
So pay attention to what they say for things like, I can see the music, or that tree sounds beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We don't hear the biker gang say that tree sounds beautiful.
They're too busy just going like, you will suffer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Step 3. Notice if someone is experiencing distortions.
Okay.
Such as, how far away is that tree? How big is that house? How long have we been sitting here? Or what time is it?
Yeah. How long have we been watching this looped video of porn in this room, as they do?
Point 4. Watch for intensified senses.
Right.
So try offering the person something to drink, or play some music, or put on a movie, and see if they respond in a way that appears normal. If the person seems more impressed than normal, or overwhelmed by their sensory experience, then it is possible that the person is using LSD.
Who is trying to find out if people are using LSD? Who's looking at people going,
I wonder if they're on LSD.
Yeah. I wonder if they're taking acid.
Notice if someone is having trouble sleeping.
Okay.
Look out for loss of appetite. Notice if someone has an inability to complete tasks.
Red definitely completes the task.
Yeah, he does, yeah. But he is on LSD. Finally, watch for paranoia, distress, anxiety, or disorientation.
Yeah, I think he ticks a lot of those boxes.
Do you think the bikie gang do? They're paranoid, distressed, anxious, or disoriented?
I think it's less that they're on LSD now. It's more that they've
become made insane by it.
Yeah, they've become
They had
psychotic.
a bad trip, and now they are.
That definitely is a bad trip, isn't it?
Yeah.
if someone goes, "Oh, I had a really bad trip," you normally think like, "Oh, you became really paranoid. You felt really unwell. You felt disorientated or whatever." You don't normally think, "I dedicated the rest of my life to a sadomasochistic pursuit of violence."
Yeah. I had the coffin nails driven into my bones.
Yeah.
And
I got shot through the back of the neck with an arrow and pulled it out the front.
So that is a bad trip.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
On that note, just keep an eye out for people who might be on LSD.
Yeah.
Because you might need to get their medical help.
Yeah, that's good advice, I think. My one final quick bit of advice is, couldn't he use? Why does no one use a gun?
That's a good point.
There's not a gun in the film.
Really?
I don't think so. Oh, apart from the golden gun, you said.
Yeah,
but
which doesn't go off.
No one fires a gun.
It's true. Did you at the beginning when you saw the chainsaw in the tree? Were you like, "That's coming back"?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the first shot of Red is him cutting down a tree with a chainsaw. It's like, well, he knows how to use a chainsaw.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we know about him so far. That might be all we need to know.
Yeah, exactly. Next scene is him smelting something. Yeah. Why not use a gun? Surely people have guns. Surely you can find some gun. Carruthers looks like a man who has guns.
Yeah, he does. He has a crossbow with a scope on it called the Reaper.
Yeah. I love how just boldly it uses these sorts of tropes. It's just like, there's a crossbow called the Reaper. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Guns work. But he's quite adept with a crossbow as well.
Yeah, he does. He does use it very, very well, to be fair to him. Can't really criticise him too much there.
He does survive as well.
He does. Yes.
That's why he's
well
in
done
Survivors Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And he looks so healthy at the end of the film. Covered in blood and grinning like a maniac.
Yeah.
Not unlike yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening. That was Mandy. Don't forget you can get in touch on Twitter at HowToSurvivePod or via email howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. And a few people have gotten in touch.
So you may remember a few weeks ago, a guy got in touch and he confused Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
For some reason, he thinks that entitles him to email again.
That's a bit harsh.
What?
That's a bit harsh.
Well, you should know. You should know you should know your Corys.
Yeah, I suppose so. You need to know your stuff if you're going to email us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, embarrassing stuff. But he's got in touch anyway.
Yeah.
Josh M, who says, "Hi, Joe and Chris."
Hi, Josh.
Right way around. That's what we like.
Oh, yeah. I retract my hi.
Another suggestion for you. The Road. Which is, as you know, you've probably seen it.
Yeah.
Based on the Cormac McCarthy novel
Mm-hmm.
of the same name. It could be said that it's set post-nuclear war, which I'm sure gives Joe the willies. It does. Keep up the great work. I've only got about 5 or 6 episodes left to listen to, but need to watch the movies first. That's impressive.
That is impressive. I don't wish this upon anyone.
Yeah.
Watching this many horror movies.
Yeah, it's a lot like with the biker Cenobite things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sadomasochistic journeys.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing this leather nail covered jacket.
It's the only way you can experience any feeling anymore after watching all these bad films.
Exactly.
The other thing to note is a 5-star review we've had.
Okay.
It's from Ben P83, who you may remember, Chris, got in touch a little while ago saying he was going to set up an iTunes account just to leave us a 5-star review.
Wow, he finally come good.
Exactly. Worth creating an iTunes account for. 5 stars as promised. Intelligent conversation and very funny. So much better than the majority of film podcasts. Highly recommended, Ben. Well, that's a 5-star review.
Yeah, that is 5 stars. Congratulations, Ben. Ben, thank you for the kind words. Next week and the week after, Joe, it's new on Netflix season.
Nice.
Which is convenient for all of our listeners, I'd imagine, or certainly all of the ones that have Netflix. Next week, we're covering Hold the Dark, which is the new film from Jeremy Saulnier.
Yeah, he made Green Room and Blue Ruin.
Yeah, an old favourite director of ours. And then the week after that, we're going to cover Apostle, which is the new Gareth Evans film.
Who made The Raid and The Raid 2.
Yes. Moving from The Raid into a sort of Welsh set cult horror.
Great.
Which sounds interesting to say the least. Both of those films are available now on Netflix worldwide as they are both distributed by Netflix. So that's Hold the Dark next week.
And you don't really have an excuse not to watch it because it's very easily accessible. Unless you haven't got internet, in which case, how are you listening to this?
Yeah. Shortwave radio.
Yeah. Vinyl.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Release some of our favourite podcasts on vinyl.
Yeah. Can you imagine a bigger waste of vinyl?
That's it for this week. Joe, thank you for joining me. But remember, you're just meat. Without a soul, without a brain, without anything. Animal. You have no spirit everlasting. No radiant light. I possess elucidations that you will never know.
It's heavy. Heavy stuff.